Hello and welcome to our second unit. My name is Jürgen Feist. I'm the Managing Director of the IBCS Association. In the previous unit, my partner Rolf Hichert has introduced semantic notation in other disciplines. He has been showing you that in music, in architecture, in road signs, in electric circles, there are visual standards or visual languages that help people understand the notations. In business communication, he pointed out we do not have such a standardization yet. And he has been showing you a plethora of visualizations of charts, and you see that they are from different colors. There are completely different chart types. Some people like pie charts, others like bar charts, others prefer tables, so there is no standardization at all. In this unit, we will be talking about topics that are worth to be standardized. And let's start with the first topic, and this first topic is scenarios. What is a scenario? When talking about scenarios, we mean versions like plan, actual, previous year, budget, forecast. You all know that from business. And you know that plan data is something completely different compared to actual data, because actual data already happened and plan data is fictitious. It's in future. It might happen differently, but it has not happened yet. So it's worth to have a completely different visualization for actual data compared to plan data. So our suggestion is to visualize actual data with a solid dark fill, let's say dark gray or black, and to visualize plan data hollow, what means outlined, not filled yet. It still has to be filled up with actual data. And consequently, something in between, like forecast, is shown in a hatched way. So it's in between. Better than plan, nearer to actual, but not actual yet. So hatched. How does this look like if we apply it, let's say, to a table? Let's look at this table. It's a typical variance table. So we see actual data, we see plan data, we see previous year data, and you see this animation that actual, plan, and previous year are visualized with exactly the visualization I've shown you before, which means dark, solid for actual, and plan, for instance, is outlined with these two lines. Or if you look at a chart, let's say a column chart, here the same visualization applies. Look at the columns. The columns are black for actual, and they are the forecast is hatched and the plan is outlined. Now, look at this little cartoon. That's what we suggest. Let's have our scenario collection. Let's call it the 2050 scenario collection. And we propose, well, all the reports all over the world, at least in your company, would follow this rule. Actual is solid dark, plan is hollow, forecast is hatched. And if something is in previous year, in the past, it's solid, still solid, and still filled, but a little lighter. Let's say gray. That's what we propose for scenarios. There are other topics that are worth to be visualized identically. For instance, variances. When talking about reporting, it's always talking about variances. So our suggestion for the visualization of variances is only use red and green for the purpose of variances. Never use green or red bar charts, green or red column charts or lines or whatever, nothing red and green unless it shows a variance. And, well, of course, the good variances are green and the bad variances are red. Maybe you use a kind of bluish green to if you want to show this chart to people with color deficiency, for instance, and maybe you use a little different red to make it better readable, but still one color for good and one color for bad. The next thing that is I want to show you how this applies, let's say, to a table. If we look at a table, we could add to that table, let's say, bar charts that are integrated in that table. And you see now exactly like a kind of highlighting, something like that. You can immediately see the good variances, the good deviations, and you can distinguish it from the bad ones, because the goods are green and the bad ones are red. So I think this can be perfectly seen in those two columns. If we look at the next topic, one thing we are often missing in reporting is the identification of a chart and a table. What is actually seen in that chart, in that table, in that report? Wouldn't it be great if we had a kind of standardized title? So we actually know where to look at in order to identify what we see in that chart or in that table. What we suggest is to have a 3-line title in the upper left corner of every chart, every table, every report. And in this title, we see the organization unit or the reporting unit, a project, a company or something like that. In the second line, we apply the notation of the measure and the unit. And in the third line, we show the scenarios and some timeline if it's necessary. If that would be a standard, we would immediately see what's shown in a chart or what's shown in a table. Again, let's look at this table, and you see in the upper left corner that we have exactly this 3-line title of this table with integrated charts. The next topic I want to talk about is to differentiate the two major visualization aspects we have in business. Either we show time series, and a time series we would propose to show it with a horizontal axis. Or we look at structures. We compare products, we compare regions, we compare whatever, and we suggest that if we compare structures, we do it vertically. If we would apply this rule completely to all reports and all presentations, we would immediately see whether it's a time series analysis or whether it's a structure analysis. So, of course, this is a time series analysis because we have a horizontal axis. We do not have to think about it. We know it's time series. There are more topics worth to be standardized by a semantic notation. For instance, we can look at the terminology. Wouldn't it be great if we would have the same terms, the same abbreviations, the same numbers, the same units, the same way we put dates, at least in one company? Wouldn't it be great if the descriptions to a chart or to a table would be visualized in the same way? The legends, the labels, the titles, the messages at the same place, in the same fonts, with the same distance to visualization elements. Wouldn't that be great? We've been talking about dimensions. Let's say the scenarios, we've been talking about the scenarios, but other dimensions are worth to be standardized. Let's say the measures. If, let's say, sales revenue would be shown in yellow, always in yellow. So if it's yellow, you know it's sales revenue. I do not want to suggest to do it yellow, just to understand what we are talking about. Standardize the measures. We do not have a suggestion yet for specific measures, but I'm sure this will come in the next steps of the International Business Communication Standards. Or we have been talking about analysis. We've been talking about the variances, that we have a visualization for variances. We have not been talking about the visualization of structure analysis yet. But, well, this is a field for future standardization. And last but not least, wouldn't it be great if the visualization of highlighting, if you want to highlight something that you mention in your message, that this visualization would always be the same. So let's say we take a blue circle around the number we are talking about in the message, so you immediately see where this message is visualized in a bar. Okay, those are aspects that are worth to be standardized in a semantic notation. If you want to see more about that, visit this open source website ibcs-a.org. There you will find all the suggestions from IBCS Association how to visualize different aspects of business. At the end, such a standardized visualization has to be put or to be set up in a kind of notation manual. A notation manual that is applied to your specific organization, to your business. Like, let's say, you know that from corporate design. They have a corporate design manual for your company. And in future there will be design manuals, notation manuals for the design of reports, of PowerPoints, of presentations, of charts and of tables. And this will be what we will be talking about tomorrow. Hope to see you again.